Hey everybody, welcome to Teal Tinted Glasses, episode number 22, our Sunday show. Last week we went super heavy into the Sharks and the Barracuda, and obviously we have some Barracuda stuff to talk about, but we're going to try and do a little, just a little NHL content as well. Maybe it'd be a little more welcome to the chat. I know last week there was like chat going kind of everywhere, but it was kind of, a lot of it was off topic, so I know we ignored a lot more chat than normal on Thursday, which, you know, when you have a guest and stuff like that and you have like a set thing, then you kind of want to do it with like, you know, we love to interact, but sometimes you have to also balance it out with kind of keeping things on point. So here we are. With us tonight is the good old Hockey Jerk. How are you doing, Mr. Hockey Jerk?
I'm doing well. How are you doing tonight?
I'm tired, but I'm here. I'm ready. I'm good.
Got to work more naps into your routine.
Yeah, I need more pregame naps for sure. No, actually, it was nice today. It was like probably the last nice day we'll have. So we took the kids to the park and they ran around and played in the leaves. It was cool.
Nice.
Yeah, wear a t-shirt. And I mean, that's like in the end of October, wearing a t-shirt's a special thing on the 22nd of October. I can't begin to express how special that is for how the weather normally is at this point. Like normally it's like, you know, I'll have like my hoodie on and then like my fall jacket over top of it because I'm a pansy. But yeah, no, yeah, we took the kids out in the afternoon and then came home, watched the CUDA game, and then tried to nap on the couch. Didn't really work, so no pregame nap. And then here we are. So, first topic, the return of the glow puck. Apparently, this Gary Bettman wants to make this a thing. I'm not gonna lie. I was a terrible not fan of the glow puck when it first debuted back. You know, when dinosaurs roamed the earth. I don't know. Do you remember the glow puck at all? Were you even alive for the glow puck?
I was. I personally wasn't a fan of it either, and I mean, I get the logic with it. You know, you want to make the puck easier to see, but at the same time, at least in my estimation, it almost made it more distracting from the play that was going on. When anytime somebody, you know, moves the puck faster than like 20 miles an hour, it shoots a blue line across the screen.
Yeah, it was I mean, from that perspective, yeah, it's hard because for me, like, I don't watch the puck. Like, I feel like if you're watching the puck, you're doing it wrong. And maybe this is the most obnoxious Canadian thing I've ever said on this show, but if you watch what's going on, like if you watch the players, you will know where the puck is based on what they're doing. I mean, I don't watch the puck per se, I watch the play. And then but you know, I read an article by Greg Wyshynski, who's now over at ESPN, and you know, he brought up some good points. Like that puck, as much as we hated it, I mean, it really went on to become like, it inspired a bunch of different changes. Like when you look at you know, like the strike zone in baseball and how they've got the graphics for that. I mean, that technology was derived from the puck.
Right.
And the other thing is like, and this is why I'm kind of torn, because I kind of go both ways on this, because I'm like, is it really necessary when we have, you know, high def 4K, whatever you're watching on now? I'm still in high def, no 4K for me. But like when you're watching these super high def broadcasts, I mean, is this really even necessary anymore? But at the same time, you know, on the flip side, the technology has come so far that maybe it won't look like ridiculousness.
See, when I think about the glow puck, and even though it's two very different technologies, what I, you know, immediately think about is at the World Cup last year when they did the digital, you know, CGI advertising on the boards, and how every time somebody would, you know, put up some snow near the boards, it would make the advertisement like blur out
Right.
for a quick second. And it's all kind of in the same, you know, family where, yes, it's a cool little thing to have, and you know, it's all about showing off your fancy technologies, but at the same time, at the end of the day, and even Vince G says in the chat, it's distracting. And I mean, I think, like you said, especially with high definition or 4K, whatever it is you're streaming on, it's It's a lot easier to see what's happening. And I'm with you. Most of the time, I'm not looking at the puck. I'm looking at, I'm usually looking at the player that the puck is most likely going to.
Yeah, and like Steve made a really good point. Like I feel like, if like the application, I like the possibilities of application. Like if you could use like during a replay or something, and have that extra feature to kind of really show, where the puck went. I mean, I think that could be really, really cool. And the NHL was demoing these pucks before that was, getting all kinds of cool information. The problem was they're super expensive. And when you have an object that, ends up in the audience, maybe, 5-6 times a game, that can become really pricey really quick. Because the puck, obviously, as we know, doesn't always like to stay on the playing surface and sometimes ends up, in the fans or, on the bench or wherever, and then it gets lost. And sometimes, sometimes Chris Pronger steals it.
Or what if somebody scores a milestone goal and they're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get the puck, I'm gonna tape it up, it's gonna look good, and the NHL's like, oh, can we take the sensor out first?
Right, that's like that's like a $10,000 puck. What are you doing? You have to buy it from us now. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll give you this fake one.
And then poor rookie, poor Rook, who's on his 2-way contracts. Like, but that's like my paycheck this month.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I like the idea of the applications. Maybe not the glow part, but I really think that there's possibilities there if they can figure out how to get the cost down. That they can do some really cool stuff with, with technology and the puck. The problem is being that the puck being what it is. The NHL, it would be really costly for the NHL, I think, and the NHL, they want to make more money. They don't want to make less. So I don't want it to, be, but I agree. Like, I don't want like the streaks back and, the puck glowing behind the boards like it did before. And it's like suddenly there's this glow in the audience and that the puck's, because they only had so many camera angles back at that time too. But yeah, I don't want that back. So my question, I guess, is why would they do this? But I think we answered it. I mean, there's some really cool applications I think that could be done, but I don't think it's cost effective. So I would rather they just don't. Because look at, I mean, obviously when they did it, it was in the 90s. So the technology has come a long way, I'm sure. Like, I'm sure it would be less annoying now, but I'm still scared. I'm still scarred from those memories of having to watch Fox, when the robots would fight before the game started. And I'm just scarred from all that.
Well, not only that, but if memory serves correctly, every time somebody would take a slap shot, I believe that blue trail would turn red, and a little thing would pop up like Fox track 94 miles per hour, and I'm just like, who cares?
Like standard def, so it took up like a quarter of your screen.
Exactly. Like we all remember the days of like 27-inch TVs.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. that was a big TV at that point too. Oh man, my TV's bigger than 19 inches. Amazing. All right.
You splurged a little bit.
You splurged, yeah, absolutely. Especially if it was like cool and not just like I mean, they're all CRT still at that point. Gosh, man, I'm old.
My remote came with batteries.
Yeah, you're right. I don't think they do anymore. Wow, man, I feel old, and I'm gonna feel older by the end of the week, and that's just bad. And here's Sleepy. If the glow puck brings more hockey fans, then I support it. I don't know. Does it though? Like, I don't think if you couldn't get somebody to a hockey game, like I think there's so many other ways to bring hockey fans to a game. And I don't think that, I think teaching people to follow the puck is doing it wrong for one. Again, like watch the players, see what the players are doing. If you watch the players, you'll figure out where the puck is based on how everyone else is moving. If you zone in on the puck, I don't know how much you're really going to learn from it. But at the same time, here's the thing. And I wanted to mention this last show, and we didn't have time, or maybe it was the show before, that, there's a lot of other ways that the NHL could bring fans into the game. Like they had the Spanish Heritage Night, the Los Tiburones jersey, whatnot. And they had the broadcast, simulcasted in Spanish. why aren't more games broadcasted in Spanish anyway? Like, if you want to reach out to a different audience, that's the avenue you want to go. You have, an entire group of people who, maybe they're not hockey fans now, and maybe, at first it doesn't really move the needle, but I can tell you from something that I've watched up here, and that was, Hockey Night in Punjabi when for the Vancouver games was this, thing that was like, all right, whatever. And now it's huge. And there's like, and it takes time. Like, Rome's not built in a day, but I think if you want to get new fans, I think you need to start being able to reach them and just expect, look at a lot of people, especially in the southern states and the markets that you really want to be in and get, butts in the seat. A lot of those people speak Spanish. You give them a Spanish broadcast and you might, they might stumble upon it, and they, it's in their language. They're not trying to, maybe if English isn't their first language, so they're not trying to fight the language barrier, and, maybe you make a new fan. I'm not saying it's going to convert every Latino person into a hockey fan. I get that, like any other, sport, there's sports that they're into, soccer, whatnot, are still going to be king, but it just seems like an obvious way, just obvious, easy way to attract new fans. And it should be something that shouldn't just be done once a night because it's Spanish Heritage Night. It should be every game, especially in the Bay Area, especially in Anaheim, especially in LA, especially in Dallas, Florida, Tampa. I just think that if you want to grow it at a grassroots level, I think that's the easiest way to start. I don't think you need to make the puck glow.
Yeah, that's a good point, especially when you consider there are, like you said, the Bay Area and Southern California and Florida and Arizona and Texas, where a majority of the people there speak Spanish as their first language or as their primary language. And it's, if you want new fans, you kind of have to, diversify your product and make it more interesting to more people. And I don't recall who said it in the chat, Steve, most people don't become fans until they go to their first game. And that's, again, a very valid point. And I think on the individual teams, I think there's more that can be done there beyond glow pucks or, bilingual broadcast teams, where you can kind of, create that fan interest and make it, unlike anything that they've ever seen or done before.
I'm not repeating what AO said, but it's hilarious. Yeah, like I don't know. To me, it seems like it's obvious, right? Like, I mean, if look at the WWE figured it out. They had the Spanish announcers table back, like when I was a kid. Like, they figured it out. Why can't hockey?
Yeah, and especially now, the WWE, I believe they have like 12 different languages all broadcasted like along the side.
Yeah, I mean, so if wrestling can do it, I mean, come on, hockey can do this. You can do this, hockey. No, but I mean, again, I'm not saying that every, Latino person or Spanish person who comes across a broadcast is going to be an instant fan, but, maybe you make a new fan, maybe you make two, maybe two becomes four, maybe four becomes eight. You know what I mean? Like, it has to start somewhere. And I think that's the really easy way to do it. All right. So I have some bad news to report to everybody. And I know this is going to be concerning. It's concerning to me. The LA Kings are actually kind of good this year.
Oh, it's another thing to add to the list of why you and I were wrong on our season preview show.
Now, it is early. However, I know the one thing I said about the Kings, and I'm going to pat myself on the back because I have had to eat crow far too many times. So I'm going to pat myself on the back for this. The one thing I said about the Kings in the preview was they had to have a lot less go right than other teams. And right now, everything's going right for them. Jonathan Quick's been, just stupid good. What he's got, he's like a 1.99 GEA, 0.938 save percentage. 0.3 would be amazing. 0.938 save percentage. Kopitar, like the zombie he looks like, rose from the dead, and he's suddenly relevant again. And look, I mean, I think anyone who thought that Kopitar was just going to be last year's Kopitar forever, I think that was wishful thinking to start. The surprising thing to me, though, is Dustin Brown.
I was gonna say, like, is it 2012 all of the sudden where Dustin Brown is an impact player? Like, he's had a hell of a season to start, and of course, like you said, it's early. There's no guarantee that he even gets close to sustaining what he's done so far. But at the same time, especially if you're a Los Angeles Kings fan who's pissed about the last 2 years, it's very encouraging. I mean, points in 7 games. When's the last time that Dustin Brown was even smelling point per game? And
Right.
now here he is looking like, like I said, the Dustin Brown who wore the C on his jersey 5 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I would rather watch Dustin Brown collect points than he is. So I'm okay with this sort of events. But I think the thing that I have to question, though, is the one difference between this year and last year is the lack of Daryl Sutter, who also stripped him of said C. And it really makes you wonder, like, was there more going on there that, than we knew? Like, was he just unhappy playing under Sutter? Because Sutter's a guy, I mean, who can, he's definitely a shelf life guy. He's a guy that you're going to eventually, he's going to wear out his welcome. And I would be curious. I mean, we'd never know because hockey players don't, throw people under the bus like that. But I'd be curious to see if the lack of Sutter was a factor in his resurgence.
Well, I could totally see that. I mean, if I recall correctly, the season that the Sharks and the Kings both missed the playoffs, I believe Daryl Sutter was locked out of the locker room after a game, and yeah, Vince G bringing up the same point as well. And I mean, I have to think that was at least the start of the end of the good feelings. And then when you consider one playoff win in 2 years, I mean,
right.
Like, the unfortunate thing in all of this is that we can't take credit for getting him fired like every other coach in the league.
No, we can't. It's really unfortunate.
But I think it is. I think it's super invaluable. I think, too, it helps that Daryl Sutter is not their GM anymore, because in the short time that Rob Blake has come... or I'm sorry, Lombardi. Dean Lombardi. Yeah,
whatever. Same guy.
Stupid blends together.
Yeah, that's fine.
With Rob Blake, in the short time that he's been GM, he's made some excellent moves. I mean, Toffoli and Pearson are on very low risk, high reward extensions. Took a chance on a guy who I think is underrated in Michael Camilleri, and so far he's looked good. Yeah. He's put Dustin Brown, him and I believe their coach is John Stevens, put Dustin Brown in a spot to succeed, and a lot of things are going right. I think they're also fortunate that, Marian Gaborik is on the IR, which gives them a little more flexibility cap-wise and roster move-wise.
Yeah.
But a lot of things are going right for them this year.
A lot of things. And I think something that does deserve a lot of credit is that actually their defense core, which I thought was going to be their weakest point, has actually been pretty good. A lot of guys stepping into roles that maybe they weren't, expected to succeed in. And so far they are.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. I mean, obviously Drew Doughty is the king, no pun intended, down there. But,
right.
Muzzin has really come into his own. Former junior Shark, Alec Martinez, has really come into his own.
Yep.
And, I was concerned about the loss of Braden McNabb to the Golden Knights, but then, Derek Forbort just comes in seamlessly, and look, he's already earned himself an extension.
Yep. Yeah. That it's crazy. I mean, I don't know if the Kings are going to stay this hot through the season. Like, it's really hard to kind of contain this thing through the season. But man, you know what? I was angry when a lot of people prognosticated that the Kings would be better than the Sharks this season, and I'm starting to be concerned that my anger is a little misplaced.
Well,
I hate that. I hate it.
Well, and I don't think, you and I saying that the Kings are going to be bad, I don't think that's a totally ridiculous.
Oh, it wasn't. I mean, who is going to score? Like, look at Jeff Carter hasn't done nothing. Now is injured. Right. And before it was like, well, if Jeff Carter's not scoring, who's going to score? I mean, that was the thing that we said pretty much anytime the Kings were brought up. Well, who's going to score for them? Who's going to score for them? Well, clearly Tyler Toffoli can score, and Anze Kopitar and Dustin Brown are back.
I was gonna say Dustin Brown, apparently.
Yeah, Dustin Brown. I mean, I think we both predicted that Kopitar would have a bounce back season because so many things went wrong for the Kings last year. But I don't know. I mean, I think that maybe I was a little too quickly to giddily count them out, and now I'm concerned. I'm more concerned about the Kings than I was, partway through the season. And look at. It's a long season and a lot of things can happen. I mean, is Jonathan Quick going to be a .938 goalie throughout the entire season? Probably not, but he's doing really good and showing why, even though, again, there's another goalie who I don't consider elite, but a lot of people do. And he's making me look dumb again. So thanks, Jonathan Quick.
And, last year it was all about how everything was going wrong for the Kings. And now this year it seems like everything is going right for the Kings. So it's like, it's almost like it's a fair trade-off.
Yeah. And then we go from one extreme to the other. I mean, what's going on in Edmonton?
Yeah, I really don't know. I mean, they have all the pieces back in place, and you would argue that with the pickup of UC Jokinen and guys like Yamamoto making the team, you'd think that they would be even better, but Cam Talbot has not looked his best, obviously. I think that top line of McDavid, Draisaitl, Maroon, I think they've started out really slow, and it doesn't help when Draisaitl gets a concussion in his eye,
yes.
And it's very curious because I was saying that pretty much ever since they started, being good again, that they probably could have used a top defenseman. Like, I was expecting them to be in on PK Subban. I was expected them to be interested in Kevin Shattenkirk. And I think the times of playing with just, 4 like really good 3-4 defensemen, I think that's eventually catching up to them because, as we've seen with the Sharks and with other teams as well, your goaltender can't do everything.
No, but here, there's a lot of positive in Edmonton. And here's why I don't think that this Edmonton slump is going to be for real, and how I think that, and this is not me trying to like justify how I picked them second in the division when it's all said and done. But here's some things that are that to me say that they're going to be okay once they turn things around. And a big part of that's going to be Cam Talbot, obviously. The Oilers are shooting more than any other team in the league. They're getting more shots per game, than any other team in the league. And they're 27th in shots against, which means they're allowing the fewest shots on goal. I think they're like 27th. So there's only 4 teams that allow fewer shots than the Edmonton Oilers. So if they can even get just decent goaltending from Talbot, like if Talbot just is okay, that should win them hockey games. McDavid's still over a point a game.
I think too, and again, obviously it's not what takes the cake in terms of Edmonton's problems, but I think it would be nice if Jesse Puljujarvi was an impact player like he was expected to be.
Yeah, I know everyone's starting to call him Finnish Yak, and that's mean. Ooh. But yeah, I mean, I can get it, I guess. The other thing too, I think the other thing that, like you said, injuries, I think another injury that, doesn't get mentioned nearly enough is Andre Sekera. And that, is a huge part of their blue line. And then, when Rob asked, like, should they make a trade for a D? I don't know how long Sekera's out. How long is Sekera out?
I'm not entirely sure, but from what it sounded like over the summer, considering the fact he didn't start the season healthy, makes me think we might see him out for at least the first half of the season.
Right. So, I mean, that's problematic. You know what? I'm sure Trent asked this question. I'm going to go back and listen to the other podcast, and I'll figure out how long Sekera is going to be out, because I'm sure Trent told me and I just forgot because I'm a dummy.
Actually, I just looked on NHL.com, and apparently in Game 5 against Anaheim last year, he tore his ACL.
Right. That's right.
And was given a 6 to 9 month timeline, which 6 to 9 months is anywhere from November to, I think, February.
Joe Thornton came back in the summer. Suck it up, Sekera. I think, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what's out there, what's available for D. It seems like that's what everyone wants right now. Like,
Mm-hmm.
If Duchesne, so they want a young D man for him. I don't think Shirley should turn anything down at this point. I mean, another D man could come in and shake things up, but just the problem is you have to be careful because, this team is, you got to be careful what kind of contract you're picking up because this team is going to be very close to the cap very soon.
Yeah, especially with Draisaitl and McDavid's deals both going to be in effect starting next year, and it's just it's a struggle for Edmonton because they're one of those teams where it's like they probably should be good, and it just seems like nothing is going right for them. And from day one, I was kind of wary about the Eberle for Strome deal, and I mean, so far it seems like I was right in that assessment.
I don't what's with the Stromes?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it seems like they have really good careers, in junior, and they make a good impression early on, and then something happens and they're just like, well, okay, whatever. Let's just go back to the AHL.
Cheryl actually asked a good question. If the Sharks put a D man on waivers, would Edmonton pick them up? Probably. I think any of the players, the defensemen that the Sharks would put on waivers, you're talking a guy like Dylan DeMello who's making peanuts. So there's no real cap problems there. I don't know if I don't know. I know T-Mac's a lefty righty guy too, but I don't know what they have as far as left and right handeds go. But I think that I mean, would they take a flyer on a guy on waivers where they have to give nothing else? Probably. Yeah, they'd probably take a Dylan DeMello if he went on waivers, for sure.
See,
the only problem is that the Sharks don't really have any other D that they'll put on waivers. They're not waiving Brendan Dillon. They're not waiving Paul Martin. Let's be honest here. So, I mean, your option of waiver eligible defenseman is Dylan DeMello. So yeah, if Dylan DeMello went on waivers, they might take a look at him. I'm not sure.
See, I disagree because I think their problems on the back end go beyond Dylan DeMello, and I think if you're them, why waste a roster spot when you can maybe make a bigger play later on down the road.
I mean, I agree. I don't think Dylan DeMello would solve any of their problems per se. I mean, they're missing Andre Sekera. I mean, they're missing a top 4 defenseman. DeMello doesn't address that at all. I mean, you could, it could allow somebody maybe to, you can send a kid back down to Bakersfield and, move a guy up to play a little over his head. But I mean, I don't know. I agree that DeMello probably doesn't help them. I just think at the price point, I don't see why. Because once he clears, if he gets snatched up on waivers, I mean, they can pretty much do whatever, right? They can keep him on. They can try and send him down again. I mean, I don't know how high the league is on Dylan DeMello, but for free, yeah. I mean, you probably do take but I don't think Doug Wilson's just going to give up on Dylan DeMello for waivers for nothing. And then who's your 7th D man? Ryan not play?
Yeah, exactly. And I think too with Edmonton, I think you have Oscar Klefbom and Adam Larson who are both only 24. I think the hope is that they evolve into top 2, maybe like solid second pair defensemen. But again, when your team is crappy, that's when you need to show your worth. And so far, it doesn't appear that that's what's going on.
I feel like, I feel like if I'm Edmonton, I'm gonna wait this out. This can't last forever. Like they're just, if they keep playing the way they are, Cam Talbot needs to start making some saves. If Cam Talbot starts making saves, this team will win hockey games. They are like I said, they are allowing the fewest shots per game. They're like 27th in shots per game allowed. If Cam Talbot makes saves and they keep, and they find the back of the net, they get a little luck on either end of the ice, they're going to win hockey games. And
but that's the thing. It's about getting that luck, though,
For sure. But I don't know if trading a player or acquiring a player is going to necessarily change that luck.
Right. It's there, and like
a fickle beast.
Right, and like I said, I think I think they missed their chance. I mean, if
Mhm.
you tell me that Taylor Hall for PK Subban is not a realistic trade, then you're wrong. You know what I
Well,
mean?
you're clearly wrong because Taylor Hall got you Adam Larson.
Like, and as much as I love Taylor Hall and would hate to wish this upon him, Montreal could use a guy like Taylor Hall, or
Right.
could have, I should say.
And Cheryl's like, didn't they struggle? Yeah, started last season, the Oilers were not good, and we were all talking about how they were going to be in the lottery again, and blah 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 blah. It's too early to be super concerned about them. All the, and Vince said it best. They're getting PDO to death. They are. There's everything points to them turning this around, and I think that there's a couple of other teams that you can apply this to as well. I think that Montreal isn't as bad as they look right now, and God, do they look terrible. But again, this is another team that, is shooting something like 6%, and they're getting 880 goaltending from Carey Price. That's not going to last.
See, and I have to disagree with you there. I haven't really been a fan of Montreal since like the year they went to the East Final. I mean, they're just they don't have guys who
Montreal has problems, but Carey Price is
Yes.
not an 880 goaltender.
Oh, no, he's not. But I'm just saying, like, their defense is not really anything to write home about. And if you ask me, they only made it worse this year, or this summer, excuse me. And you're playing, you're playing these like childish games with one of your best players in Alex Galchenyuk. I mean, a good player. Like, what do you
got to go?
He does. It's I mean, Jonathan Drouin is a nice pickup, but is Jonathan Drouin a center? I personally don't think so. And yes, the cost was wrong too. Why Sergachev has shown with Tampa Bay in how many ever games? 7 games that he is one hell of a defenseman, and he's outscoring Jonathan Drouin as a defenseman.
Yeah. No, I mean, Sergachev, I mean, look, he's in a better situation, obviously. But when that trade happened, I said Sergachev was too big a price to pay. As much as I love Drouin, Sergachev was way too big a price to pay.
Yeah, and Vince G brings up a really good point, too, saying that's what happens when you sell the farm for more offense, when you don't have the blue line to break out and get them the puck. I mean, I saw a tweet that said something to the extent of, Montreal's really missing David Schlemko. And I'm like thinking to myself, no, they're not. Like, that's not going to help them.
Okay, so here's my theory for Montreal.
Sure.
Marc Bergevin gets fired, and now I know what you're saying. They need a French guy. What about Michel Therrien, GM, Montreal Canadiens?
What's funny is I could totally see them do that.
Could you not see them do that? Like, with the fire them and then bring in Michel Therrien, sorry, as the
Oh my God! What that franchise?
He's lurking about. I don't think it's so that they can trade off. I mean, maybe it is so they can trade off with Claude Julien. I mean, French Canadian coaches are seem like they're few and far between now.
Well, what does he even do with the team? Like, he just show up wearing a Montreal Canadiens like windbreaker, and they're like, oh yeah, okay, do things. Like, do we even know what he does?
I don't know, but this always happens, right? Like, how it's always interesting when this happens. I mean, remember how Joe Quenneville was like a something scout or something, and then like after the whole Dale Talon mutiny thing happened, Joe Quenneville's installed as coach. Like, these things happen in the league all the time, where you have these guys sitting in these weird positions and they're basically just waiting in the wings. And I would not be shocked if Marc Bergevin was fired, if it was actually Michel Therrien that takes his place.
I'm sad that Zach is not on the show, because he would hold you to that.
I think I just got Marc Bergevin fired.
Are you willing to put a hashtag foreseen on that?
I'm gonna do it. Hashtag foreseen.
All right, everybody in the chat, remember this.
I can't see Bergevin making it through the year. Like,
there's no way.
What point? Like, are the Molson brothers gonna be like, okay, this is enough is enough?
But then here's the thing: at the same time, is the Molson family is, they're very French. They
So was Michel Therrien.
Right. I just think that because I just think because of that that complex, I think Marc Bergevin gets a longer leash than he should. And Rob,
He's had a longer leash already, though. Like, I feel like he's been there forever. I mean, it's not Montreal's fired guys before for less.
Well, poor, Randy Cunnyworth or Ralph Cunnyworth or whatever his name is.
Randy Cunnyworth, yeah.
Randy, poor guy, only speaks English and he's a criminal in the state.
I get that, but I mean, they've fired other guys before, though, that were French. I mean, it's not like I really think that, like, Marc Bergevin, his leash has got to be getting tight, man. And then there you go. Yeah. Alain Vigneault, back to Montreal.
What's funny is that's going to be it. It's going to be Michel Therrien as a GM, Alain Vigneault as the coach.
I think Julien gets a little more time. It's not his fault. Nothing is his fault at this point.
I don't know. I'm just saying, lineup
other
decisions.
Than the lineup decisions.
I was going to say lineup decisions are his choice, and he's choosing to play, a center on the wing and a winger at center. So
yeah, that's true. Well, you got things. I mean, look at we have the same problem in San Jose.
This is very true. And as we say on the show, speaking French is a hell of a drug.
It is a hell of a drug. But actually, it's a good thing in the chat. Obviously, I believe New York isn't doing okay. I don't really pay attention to the
New York Rangers are everybody bad, and they should feel bad.
Okay, that's what I thought. I'm bringing up the standings now because I don't really pay attention to the standings in the East as much as I said. Holy crap, the Rangers are bad.
And it's unfortunate because the Rangers are one of the most improved teams from last year to this year, if you ask me. I mean, they have Kevin Shattenkirk, who, all things considered, is a pretty damn good defenseman.
But was it the defenseman they needed?
Probably not. But
that's my thoughts. Like, I just felt like it didn't really. It was like, yay, we spent all our money, we got Kevin Shattenkirk, but it was like, what does he address? He doesn't really. I don't know.
I think too. I mean. I understand trading Derek Brassard 2 years ago. I mean, he had been your best player at that time, and he's obviously the guy who had the most value. And look, you got Mika Zibanejad, who I'm very high on. I think he is going to have a really good year this year once he gets out of his slump. But, trading Derek Stepan for what they got makes no sense to me. I mean, draft picks are nice, but, you pick up Anthony DeAngelo, who was a highly touted prospect at the time, but it's been well documented that has attitude related issues among other things, and it's Derek Stepan is a big piece to give up for taking a chance on someone.
Yep, no, I don't disagree there. I mean, they had to they were in cap trouble too, though. They had to do something like that. But as far as Alain Vigneault goes, I think Alain Vigneault is a hell of a coach, but I just wonder if his time has run out. Like, if you're New York, have you just tuned him out at this point? Because he's been there forever, it feels like.
Yeah, I think and it's unfortunate because Alain Vigneault, I really like him as a coach too, and I feel like he should be fired, not because he's bad, but just because, like you said, of the circumstances. He's been there too long with minimal success, and the New York Rangers are kind of. If I offend anybody, I'm sorry, but the New York Rangers are kind of like the San Jose Sharks, where they made the Stanley Cup final 1 year and squandered their opportunity, and that was it,
I'm offended. Rick Nash is 1.9 games. Let's go get him.
Rick Nash, here's the thing about Rick Nash, which I find to be very interesting. He has a stupid amount of shots on goal. I think he's got, last I checked, which was a few days ago, I believe he had 30 shots on goal and hadn't buried one yet.
Right. I mean, it'll come, but I know that's one of the things, because obviously whenever your team does bad, you start looking at other teams that are doing bad and being like, ooh, maybe we take this player. And anytime someone brings up Rick Nash, I want to smash my face off my keyboard. Just
need to rekindle that Spengler Cup magic.
Right. Yeah. I mean, unless we're going to the whatever year, the 2003 Spengler Cup, then I'm not interested in Rick Nash at this point in his career.
Yeah, one goal, 35 shots on goal, only one goal to show for it.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, look at someone said in the chat, is Doug Wilson on the hot seat? Doug Wilson will never be on the hot seat in San Jose. That's just reality. We have to come to terms with it, people. Doug Wilson's never getting fired. If anything, and I've said this millions of times at this point, I feel like, so we've heard it again. If anything happens to Doug Wilson, it will be that he gets promoted to president of hockey operations and he will hire a puppet below him.
Yep.
Maybe his son.
And I think and I think too, I think Doug Wilson is in the same position as Marc Bergevin, where they're never going to get fired.
Nah, Bergevin will get fired. It's Montreal. It's only mattered. Like, people are the calls, when the calls for his head become too loud, they will cave. Whereas in San Jose, they don't care.
Vince G says tanning beds are a hell of a drug.
Yeah, I don't see Doug Wilson getting fired, guys. Like, I really don't.
Yeah, I don't either.
I think that he's a guy that would just move up in the organization and someone else would get hired as the GM, and he would still be the guy in charge on the hockey side. He's always been Hasso's hockey guy. So as long as Hasso Plattner is the owner of this team, I don't see Doug Wilson not being in the organization somewhere.
And the thing is, too, is I personally don't think Doug Wilson deserves to be fired. Like, save for the year the Sharks missed the playoffs, he's been no worse than any other GM. So I personally don't buy into the fire Doug Wilson mantra. But I mean, you don't know how something is going to change until it happens. So I guess only time will tell.
Here's my problem with Doug Wilson. And I don't think it's with Doug Wilson himself. It's the people that he has himself surrounded with. And in order to cut that, in order to do the necessary things that need to change in that front office, Doug Wilson has to go.
Right.
That's my problem with Doug Wilson. It's not so much with him personally. It's the people he's surrounded with. It's the scouting staff. Again, DW can't draft. No, his scouting staff can't draft. GMs don't go around the country and watch, games. They manage their teams, but they have scouts for that. And the drafting issue isn't Doug Wilson, it's the scouting staff. So if you get rid of Doug Wilson, you can get rid of the scouting staff. Because if I was in charge, I would clean out the front office, almost all of it, if I was in charge.
And this is something that both us and Zach and Kevin have all said multiple times, is the scouting staff goes around the country, goes around the world, watches game, goes to Doug Wilson and says, oh, we're picking at 23. We like this guy. Doug Wilson says, okay, cool. Get the jersey. Let's go.
Yep. At least on the first 3 rounds, really. Yes, it's good that the Sharks do get some good late picks. I'm not going to dispute that. I mean, they've gotten some really good guys, but the problem is the Sharks don't hit on the hits that they need to hit on. They don't have, Justin Braun's a great player, 7th round pick. Joe Pavelski, great player, 7th round pick, but you don't get a million Pavelskis. You get one. You don't get a million Paveldetskiks. You get one. Like, you can't blow your first 3-round picks and then just hope to get lucky between 4 and 7. Like, that's not the way to run a team. And, sans Pavelski, what game-breaking talent do you have that you've drafted outside of the first 3 rounds?
You hear that?
I'm waiting.
That's silence. Yeah.
Right. Okay. You traded for Brent Burns. You traded for Joe Thornton. Logan Couture, yes. Thomas Hertl, the jury's out. But beyond that, they missed way more in the first 3 rounds than they should have hit on. Kevin Labanc, we'll see, man. We'll see. I mean, yeah, he's done really good right now, but is Vlasic, Couture, these I'm not saying they're completely barren, but they hit on their first 3 rounds like they should hit in the last rounds.
And vice versa.
Right. And that's the
Kevin Labanc, I believe, is a 5th round pick.
He is a 5th round pick. You are correct.
Yeah.
But Vlasic isn't a game changer per se, but he's one of the best defensive defensemen in the game, period. I mean, you're right. He's not Paul Coffey. No one would accuse him of being Paul Coffey, but he is a damn good shutdown defenseman. So I just, that's my problem. It's not with Doug Wilson so much himself. It's the fact that I would want to clean out a large portion of that scouting staff. That's what I would do, but that's, that's not me in charge. So I want the Sharks to draft better. All right, what else do we got here? I'm just trying to see if it's in the
Detroit Red Wings.
Detroit Red Wings are bad and they should feel bad. Are they good? I don't know.
I don't think they're good. I think they had to do a lot of things they probably didn't want to do just so they can fit Athanasiou into their roster. I mean,
yes. Yeah. Athanasiou. And it's interesting, the 1-year term, because he's going to be arbitration eligible next year.
I think the logic in that is, I think both sides, considering what's happened, I think both sides might be okay with a mutual arbitrator just presenting a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
If it got to that point. But
so they trade Sheehan to the Pens, who hasn't had a good season, but I like Riley Sheehan. I think he's a good guy. That's a painful move. And
I think he's a perfect player for the Penguins. I think, and not speaking, this is, me not speaking as a fake Penguins fan, but I think Riley Sheehan will have a bigger impact with Pittsburgh than many people think, when you consider that it wasn't too long ago where Riley Sheehan was a, in air quotes, crucial piece of the Detroit Red Wings. And, it's nice because they get, Scott Wilson, who's, can play in their bottom six, and they get a 3rd-round draft pick out of it, which now gives them 2 in this coming year. And I mean, Ryan Sproul for Matt Pimple, I mean, they're different. They play different positions, but that's pretty much a lateral move in terms of what they bring to your team.
Correct.
It's a lot of finagling just to get one guy onto your roster, but at the same time, if I'm a Red Wings fan, and I'm not really sweating these trades.
No. Is Timo Meier a bust for a first rounder? No. Timo Meier is a 21-year-old playing regular NHL shifts. Timo Meier is fine. Is he doing all the things that we would like him to do? No, but he's in the lineup for a reason. Like, he's earned his spot.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I don't think it's way too early for this Timo Meier as a bust talk. Like, I don't think, has he been what we'd hoped he'd been, being draft 9th overall? No. But like I said last show when Zach was on, I know Zach's not a big Timo Meier guy either. And I fall in and out of love with Timo all the time, but Timo Meier is going to be an NHLer. He's going to be an NHLer with a long career. He's going to be one of these guys that plays hundreds and hundreds of games, but is he going to be a grindy middle 6 guy or a top 6 scorer? That remains to be seen.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where, unfortunately, you just have to be patient, because when you start to expect, the world from young guys, that's when you start to get into trouble. Hello, Mirko Mueller.
Right. Yeah, and Vince G says, and Vince G's right, and it's going to come down to shot selection, which is slowly improving and then kind of goes back and forth. But really, the only thing missing from Timo's game right now is the goal scoring. If Timo started scoring goals, he'd be everyone would be rushing out to get their Timo Meier jerseys if he started scoring, because everything else in his game is pretty damn good.
Right.
So if he can start putting the puck in the back of the net, he's gonna be great. Vegas is on their 3rd goalie as they continue to just be awesome. I don't think anything's gonna stop them. I think they found a game genie and they are using it.
Yeah,
a game shark for you younger, older people.
Man, I wish I had a Game Shark when I was a kid. But, Marc-Andre Fleury goes down and you think it's the end of the world, right?
Yep.
Wrong. Here comes Malcolm Subban, who, in my estimate, never got a fair shake in Boston. And
yeah, I'm starting to, whatever. We're not stop talking about things that he does that are dumb.
And, you could see it when he got hurt in the Vegas game last night. He slammed his stick on the ice. He was pissed, and I think that's partly because he knew that he had something to prove, and now he gets hurt and he's going to be out. I believe they said his timetable was 4 weeks, but
4 weeks, no surgery though, just rehab, which is good.
That's good. That's obviously very encouraging. But now, as Vegas, Vegas already has their fair share of haters, and now they have to masquerade as a legitimate NHL contender with Oscar Dansk because they're starting goaltender.
Ouch.
It's not. it's not a recipe for success. And
But is Vegas like I keep saying, like, as much as I'm happy for the people of Vegas and, you know, for the team to be doing this well, especially with everything that's happened in Vegas, you know, how long was this really? This was never sustainable.
yeah,
Like, I don't feel like this was ever like this isn't sustainable. This is a mirage. This is gonna, like, yes, I know they're breaking records and everything else. They are not gonna be a playoff team when this is all said and done, regardless of who's healthy.
well, and I mean, you know, a big reason why they started off so strong is because James the Real Deal Neal came alive and was scoring a goal like every other shift.
Right.
And you know, when you're scoring 5, 6, 7 goals a game, you can afford to let in 3 or 4 goals because you're still going to win. But what happens when you can't? What happens when you can't score goals all of a sudden, but you're still letting in a ridiculous amount of goals? The tide is going to turn, and you know, as much as I hate to say it, because I'm
enjoying the ride. Don't get me wrong.
I'm enjoying the ride too. I think as a new team making the impact they have so far, I think it's awesome. I like Las Vegas. I think it's a fun place to be.
Favorite place in the world.
I don't think that the parade should be planned.
No, God, no. Let's not plan any parades. Okay. We are running long because that's what we do.
Yep.
But I'm glad that we got to be in the chat more this week than last week. I do need to break down some Barracuda though. As the Barracuda played 2 games against the Cleveland Monsters. I still want to say Erie Monsters, but they are no longer the Erie Monsters. The Cleveland Monsters. Sunday.
I was having a conversation with somebody, and they asked me who the Barracuda played, and I said the Lake Erie Monsters, and they looked at me like they were like, "What are you saying?" And I'm like,
"What is going on here?" Cleveland.
Sorry,
yeah,
I'm old fashioned.
It's interesting. I find that whole Cleveland dynamic interesting because it's not the Jackets that own the team. It's actually the basketball team that owns the team.
Yeah, very, very interesting.
I know. Like, how does that work? Anyway, Saturday, 4-1 loss. This was a game struggling. This is a game that wasn't a whole lot of fun to watch. And then the Sharks kind of played after, and I was really bitter by the end of the day. I'm just like, man, I watched a lot of bad hockey today. The Barracuda are having some serious power play issues. This game, they were 0 for 3 on the power play. Their penalty kill has been pretty good, though, all things considered. 6 for 7 on the penalty kill. The Monsters outshot them 22-19, and Brad Thessian, I believe his name is, he stole so many prime opportunities from the Barracuda. The Barracuda came out, they were a little sluggish to start. And then, they kind of slowly found their game as time went on, but they just could not find the back of the net until near the end when it didn't matter. Cleveland puts in an empty netter. Nick DeSimone hurt this game. I don't know how, but he was listed as not a healthy scratch today. He was out, and I don't know why you would take Nick DeSimone out to put Jeremy Wan. You look at your defense core and you're like, who am I going to take out? I think some of the problem is that with the Barracuda, from what I saw this weekend, and especially today, I think was more evident, was that this is a team where you have guys that are playing above their role on the blue line, especially. I'm a big fan of Nick DeSimone, but I think that he and I believe, who was he playing with? It wasn't Middleton. It was
DeSimone was playing with, I want to say
Bergman. Yeah, I want to say it was Bergman, or maybe it was Bergman Missile. I don't even know anymore. Anyway, it was bad. It was all bad, people. I thought Grosnick had a good game.
He generally does.
Grosnick had to face a lot of difficult shots, and the score was 4-1 when it was over. I mean, he allowed 3, but I thought he was really solid. He was one of the better things. Aside from the top line on Saturday, I felt that the rest of, they really got manhandled by the Monsters. This morning's game, or this afternoon's game, sorry, was a little more painful to watch. It was really frustrating. I mean, here's how the first 2 periods went. Barracuda get the puck. The offense has to carry to the zone because the defense has no transition game without DeSimone and the gang. They get to the red line, they dump it in, they lose the puck, it comes back. wash, rinse, repeat for like 40 minutes. The Barracuda defense, like they're really now with DeSimone out and not having Heat or Ryan, that transition game is in a world of hurt. And I thought that was really evident. It was really hard to watch. Like it wasn't the Barracuda, they weren't getting very many chances. They were outshot early. I think they had like 8 shots on goal in the second period or something silly like that. Yeah. The power play was brutal. Again, it was brutal. And again, you have nobody there to really power play. There's no power play quarterback there with DeSimone out, obviously. The PK was on point. I mean, and Antoine Bibeau had a hell of a game. Really stepped up. Again, small sample size, but I liked the pickup of Antoine Bibeau, and I remember a certain bear and a certain jerk telling me that I shouldn't be as excited as I was, but I'm excited now, and you guys can't stop me. So there. I believe a certain Mr. Lacey also was on me for that. So
I mean, and we talked about it on Thursday's show with Mr. Bear, and it's unfortunate that the same things keep happening. The Barracuda, like you said, they don't, especially with DeSimone out, they don't have a defenseman who can move the puck, and no Joachim Ryan makes that even worse. And Captain John McCarthy still looking for his first point. I find it very hard to believe that the team doesn't want Rourke Chartier back in the mix. Granted, still, affected by his injury from the playoff run, but Rourke Chartier is a huge part of the team, and
yes,
believe me, there's struggles now for the Barracuda, but if Rourke Chartier can come back this season, things will begin to turn around. And this team is weird because this team is almost like the Sharks from a few years ago, where the top guys are point per game or higher, and then the bottom 6 is lucky if they're even on the plus minus.
Right. Yeah.
And
I like sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Another person, before I forget, and another person who's played really stood out to me is actually Brandon Mashinter. Looked really good in both games. Getting a lot of chances, because you wouldn't expect, it's McCarthy, I believe, Mashinter and Bullig all playing on a line, which seems scary, but it seems to actually work. And Mashinter, that's been a really good thing. And, Sleepy bringing up, why is Wildney appearing in his second game? This is a developed defenseman. Yeah. I mean, we really went on about this last week too, where they need to make a decision on Jeremy Waugh and figure out where they are going to put him to get him games, because I agree, him sitting in the press box isn't doing him anything. This is a guy you used a 31st overall pick on, you traded to get him. Why are you not playing him? I mean, it was nice that it's not nice that DeSimone got hurt, but it was nice that he was able to draw into the lineup. For DeSimone, man, that's a young blue line though. That is a young blue line.
It also doesn't help too that the last 2 years Jeremy Waugh has been injured, so unfortunately we haven't been able to see what he truly can bring, in a league that's not the Q.
Right.
And I mean, I'm not going to pretend like I know everything there is to know about Jeremy Waugh. I need to watch him a little bit more to know what kind of player he is, but at the same time, I'm optimistic because of those 2 injury seasons. I would like to see him either back in the queue or even with the Allen Americans. I mean, he needs ice time,
right?
And especially he needs low pressure ice time like Allen or like the queue, where if he screws something up, it's not as detrimental as it would be if he were on the Barracuda. And I don't know. I just think he needs to be given the benefit of the doubt. But at the same time, if he can't start making an impression in the limited chances he's getting, then really it's time to start being concerned.
Yeah, and could have Phil in the chat actually, and that's something I do want to mention is that the the video feed out of the Cleveland game was amazing for AHL. It was high def as far as I could tell, which is amazing because normally it's like Sony Handycam from 1987.
Well, they got that Cavaliers, world champions money flowing around.
That's true. I just, yeah, I worry about Wah. I mean, Cam saying the secret's out on him. He's not very good. I'm not ready to say that. I haven't seen enough of him because of injuries and everything else. I think, is he behind in his development because of injuries? Absolutely. Is he bad? I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready to go that far yet. He needs time to play. He needs time to prove if he's good or bad, and he's just not getting it. I don't know. That's it. So all in all, Barracuda did win. Michael Brodzinski scored his first professional goal with
of all people.
Yes, of all people. Scored with 1.1 seconds left in overtime. So they had him out on the 3-on-3, which I think is good trust from Roy Sommer, giving the kid a chance. And I mean, in the Barracuda pulled one out, man. And after the first 2 periods, I didn't think that was going to happen. They really came on in the third. I think that they had kind of worn the Monsters down a little bit. I think they frustrated the Monsters a little bit. But it was a goaltending duel. Like the goaltending was just top notch. And to get that from your backup goaltender is good. Goldobin is doing good in Utica. Yeah, of course he is, because he's too good for the AHL, but not good enough for the NHL. I don't know where that in between league is. The KHL?
I was going to say it starts with the K, and it's across the ocean.
Like, I don't know. I mean, if you couldn't make the Vancouver Canucks, there's problems.
Well, and I think that's, I agree with you to an extent, but at the same time, we've seen for some reason Travis Green is limiting Brock Besser's minutes, and I don't know, why not play Goldobin in the NHL? I mean, what do you have to lose?
Do anything in the like? He's tearing it up on Utica, but I don't. What, like, again? He's not gonna get any better in the A.
Right.
He's a good player in the A. We know this. We've seen this. The kid needs to play in the NHL. He needs the chance to just work his stuff out.
Yeah, agreed. It's one of those things where he is really good in the AHL, and then, that kind of gets to his head, and then, he makes it to the NHL, and oh, shocker, he's not as good as he thought he was.
Right. Well, and then you bring him up in the AHL and you make him play a third line checking role.
Exactly.
Like, I don't know. I'm not gonna
and it's the same thing when he was on the Sharks. And right. I even said it in the chat. You need to put him, when he was on the Sharks, either with the Joes or with Lone Couture. Never happened.
Never happened.
In Vancouver,
and I agree.
You need to put him with the Sedins or put him with Bo Horvat and Sven Barchi. Sorry. But
yeah. Then they did put him with Sedins for a little bit, didn't they?
Yeah, and funnily enough, I'm pretty sure that's where he scored all of his NHL goals.
I think so too.
So, hello, hi. Is the light on in there?
Is LeBanc in trouble with PDB? I don't know what PDB's doing. And this is the last question, and then we got to get out of here. I have been really confuzzled by Peter DeBoer because, and I like to think I know a little something about hockey, okay? Now, maybe I'm not an NHL coach, but I like to think I know a little something about hockey. And some of the players that he's pushed down the lines has been just confusing to me. Like, I was confused how Donskoy was the guy that got demoted to the 4th line. I don't know what's going, like, we only see what we see on the ice. We don't know what's going on off the ice. So we don't know, Kevin LeBanc has a little bit of a history of having a little bit of an attitude sometimes. So we don't know if something happened off the ice, but the fact that Kevin LeBanc, like, after how he started, got demoted to the 4th line by the end of last game, I don't get it. I don't understand it. And part of me just doesn't want to understand it, because then I might just be insane.
Well, and that's the thing, is why does Kevin LeBanc play 5 straight games of being one of the Sharks' best players, and then he comes into one game and gets knocked down the lineup? Like, it's confusing, because he leads the team in points, and is tied for the team lead points, and it's not like that happened by accident.
No,
and like I said, he's been one of the best players in the entire course of the season. Again, something.
And I didn't see anything from his game in the Islanders that said, "Wow, man, you need to knock this kid down a peg."
Exactly, and that I don't understand. Jonas Donskoy going to the 4th line, I do understand, because when you think about it, Jonas Donskoy probably one of the best possession guys on the Sharks, and I think Jonas Donskoy playing with Carpenter and Hansen, I think it makes that line that much better when you factor in Carpenter's very underrated, shot and passing ability and Yannick Hansen's speed. And with those three together, I have a hard time calling it the fourth line.
I know. Here's the problem I have, all right? Like, for me, you want a guy that's going to go after the puck. And this season, we've returned to Donskoy where the engine just doesn't turn off. Like, he's always after the puck. Right. And I know Melker Karlsson plays a similar game to that, but I just like when I see Donskoy on the fourth line and Karlsson on the second, like and I know Karlsson got a goal and you can all laugh at me, haha. But something's wrong when that's a thing. Like, right. I know Melker Karlsson had like that one, he scored all these goals that which, completely gave people the completely wrong idea of what Melker Karlsson was. Melker Karlsson is your prototypical bottom six player.
Yeah, agreed.
Why is he on? Like, I don't understand how Donskoy ends up on the fourth line and Karlsson ends up on the second. Yes, I know he scored a goal. Woohoo. Big deal.
And I think, and that's the thing with Karlsson is like, I would argue that Karlsson's ceiling is a second liner on a team that's dealing with a major injury, which is like what we saw in the Stanley Cup final where Thomas Hertl goes down and up goes Karlsson and he gets 2 goals. It's right. He's a good fill-in guy for a top 6 role, but otherwise he should be on your third line. Yeah, no, I don't. I think Melker Karlsson's not a bad player. I really like Melker Karlsson. I like Melker Karlsson a lot more than I think a lot of Sharks fans seem to when he's not scoring. Because when he scores, then he's God suddenly again. But usually it's like, oh, I don't know why Melker Karlsson's this. Melker Karlsson is like one of the best bottom 6 forwards we have on this team. One of the best bottom 6 forwards we've ever had in the franchise history. Yeah, you're probably not wrong there. I don't understand what Peter DeBoer is doing, but I mean, at the same time, the dude's going to end up starting to coach for his life at some point. Especially if the Sharks, continue to free fall like they did in the beginning of the season. Right. I mean, we're just a game under 500 again. It's early, but there's just some things that Peter DeBoer does, and there's been always things that Peter DeBoer does that just make me shake my head and wonder, how long do we have to suffer through this? But at the same time, the devil, maybe. So, yeah, and Hackle, any team would want to have Melker. I agree. I think if you put Melker on waivers, every team puts a claim in for him, unless maybe like Detroit, who just has no cap space for him. Well, Detroit also likes to ignore talent, so. That's true. You'd be like, well, maybe we can just put him in the AHL and he can play there for 7 years. And then we'll wonder why he's not good when we finally call him up. All right. That is it. That is me picking on everybody. Guys, thanks for coming to watch the show. We will be back on Thursday. We will have stuff to talk about, I'm sure. If you have stuff you want us to talk about, then always, send me a DM. DM's the best because I can keep track of things better in my DMs than trying to scroll through my timeline. So yeah, just DM me. Tell me what you want us to talk about, and if I will usually always try and work it into the show. I had a question. Shoot, I almost forgot. Cheryl, I believe it was Cheryl, asked, what the hell is these face-off violations? So let me quickly, Ian's Hockey 101 this for you. The thing that they're looking for right now in the face-offs is, obviously they're trying to stop guys from cheating, but everyone cheats. So how are they stopping people from cheating? There's these little hash marks here that are on the ice, and they are basically, they want the players to keep their skates in them. It was Christine then. I knew it was one of you two. I'm sorry. And basically they don't want they don't want you to have your skates. Because a lot of times, guys would have like their 1 foot way out and they're trying to keep players with their skates in the thing. So if your skate leaves those hash marks before the puck is dropped, then that's, a face-off violation. 2 face-off violations, and you get a penalty in today's NHL. There are also, other things like, I believe visiting team puts their stick down first. It's a colossal waste of time. It's something that they're going to enforce now, and by February, I don't think it's going to be a thing anymore, but we'll see. Other than that, sorry about that, guys. Other than that, thanks for coming and watch the show. Again, send me messages. Subscribe. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. Tell 2 friends, and then they can tell 2 friends, and then they can tell 2 friends, and so on, and so on, and so on. Likes are awesome. Retweets are divine. Not Zach Divine.
Yeah, today's game face-off violation was stupid. I just wish they'd drop the damn puck. But we're running late. Hockey Jerk, any final thoughts?
Final thought. So in the chat, Sleepy Mofo said that I'm currently a Penguins fan, and then eventually I will be a Tampa Bay Lightning fan. Here's the thing: I'm already a Tampa Bay Lightning fan. I'm already a Tampa Bay Lightning fan, and that's because let's just say that when they won their first Stanley Cup, I was a very impressionable, young guy, and I was like, oh, they beat the team that beat the Sharks. I can get behind those guys.
Touche.
And you can follow me on Twitter at @hockey_jerk.
All right, guys. I believe we're back Thursday. Is there a game Thursday? Let me see. Look at my schedule here. I believe we're back Thursday. Are we back Thursday, Hockey Jerk?
We are back Thursday.
We are back Thursday. Are we back Thursday? What's the Thursday? Thursday's they play Boston on Thursday.
Ew.
Ew. So
as we all know, I hate Boston.
That's true. Okay, we will tell you when we're back. Because I think doing the show as late as we do, we should avoid conflicts, but still, we will figure it out. All right. Goodbye, people. We love you.